Let's have some fun. Chase, we are now officially less than a month. You and I will be holding each other and the Nintendo Switch 2.
Okay.
I don't know how the other part got in there. That's weird. But no.
Freudian slip.
That happened. There's a lot of slipping here in the casual hour, especially on episode 422, where we're trying to get back on track after a pretty big May preview. And we got some new games that we've played from that preview, and we're going to tell you about those in a little bit. And if you've been under a rock, or if you are any fan of games media, some big hits last week hit some things that we care a lot about, or have cared a lot about. Things like Giant Bomb, things like Polygon. So we're gonna tip our hat, pour one out, whatever you want to say. Maybe near the back half of the episode, but we do have some big updates. But Chase, I have one question about the Switch 2 before we move forward.
Okay.
Like, not about what potentially you'll get to play on that thing in the future, like not including Mario Kart. Hardware, Switch 2 hardware. What is the thing you are most excited about on getting the Switch 2 hardware in less than a month?
Excited about? I wouldn't say it's excitement exactly, but the thing I'm most intrigued by and interested in is the mouse controls. I want to see how that feels.
Yep.
I know I've seen some reporting from places like Polygon, which we won't see anymore, where they did some testing. Where it was like, oh, hey, it works on these corduroy pants, it works on skin, it works on these other things. I'm like, okay, that if that's the case, and you can have these mouse controls work where I don't have to be sitting at a desk or have like a mouse pad thing on my lap, then maybe this could be useful for some have some use cases to it. So I'm really interested to get my hands on that and see how it works. I'm not sure Mario Kart's the game for that, but I do look forward to a potential future where a point and click adventure game could just work on a Switch.
RTS games, strategy games.
RTS games would be pretty cool.
Into the Breach, playing Into the Breach with that would be fucking great.
I guess you can already play Into the Breach on a Switch. It feels pretty damn good.
Playing with the mouse is pretty nice though. Clicking in, getting the little.
I suppose.
And like the hover over, like tool tips you can get with a mouse. Like I hope that like developers have a smart way of doing that stuff. Well, I really think Civ 7 will be a good barometer of what that thing could do. That's like probably going to be the most, or the closest game we'll play on the Switch, or maybe at least observe on the Switch that does that. But I'm with you, man. I don't have a lot more to add to that.
Pokemon Let's Go, whatever the Johto ones are going to be, and you, instead of forcing you to use the Joy-Cons to throw, you can use the Joy-Cons to mouse.
That's, I mean, dude, like being able to click, though, like playing a Pokemon game or any turn-based game for that matter, I'd have to say, like, playing that, just like clicking on the buttons with the mouse is really nice. Like that would be a cool way of playing that. I'm going to play, my goal for science alone is I'm going to force myself to play all of Metroid as a mouse.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting experiment.
Chase, it's May 7th. And we'll be
May the 7th be with you.
May the 7th be with you. A lot's been going on, and you and I have taken some time to play some games, but I would be lying to you if I told you the game that I have not been playing the most was Claire Obscure Expedition 33. And I'm just here to tell you this week.
That's definitely not a lie.
I beat it. I have beaten the game.
Yay!
And I am so upset that you have just like no interest to play this. And it's one of the best games I've played in a very long time. I absolutely I would call this one a masterpiece. I put it up there.
I look forward to next week when you find your next best game you've played of all time. And
now, dude, you know that's kind of an old hat. I've been you've worn off on me, especially as this little twosome here.
You don't hate like I do, buddy.
I don't hate like you do. Nobody can. But I have become less. I don't throw as many of those flowers out as I once did. But
I would agree. You are not quite as effusive as you used to be, where you had like multiple. I just remember it's a very old casual hour bit, but I think I remember you saying 7 different games were in your top 5 games of all time.
Yeah, there's a lot of top 5s.
There's
I
that's
I
just
I think I
mathematically
can
not
tell
possible,
you
bud.
pretty confidently. I think this is absolutely like it's in the top 3 turn-based games I've ever played. 100%. Like
Okay.
and
There's still a chance. Like if it goes on sale, if I've got nothing going on, I could see myself picking it up.
it's a very
But
cool
man,
game.
I just it gave me a really bad first impression because I do not like the way that game looks, and that's hard for me to get over. I
Yeah.
also don't really care about the premise. It seems like some kind of young adult fiction kind of a setup. And I'm sure it's written better than that, but
Yeah.
it just has that kind of premise of like I don't really
I mean,
care
hey, they
about
all can't
this.
be naked teenagers inside robots, Chase.
See, now that
Uh-huh.
that's
So,
that's something I'm interested in.
that's Clear Obscure.
13 Sentinels Edis Rim in stores now.
I'll talk way more about it in December. But there's 2 new games that I've been playing that came out. One was late April. It left early access. It's called Dead Zone Rogue. I don't know a lot about the Dead Zone.
Anything about this?
Dead Zone Rogue is fucking rad. I'll just say that right now. It's part of a bigger universe, though. It's
Masterpiece, some might say.
not this one, but
Okay.
it's up there. This is a very cool roguelike first-person shooter. It is the pacing of this is really cool. I would say it's almost like little arenas that you go into.
Yeah.
And you've got a little reprieve in between each room. Sometimes they chain right together, but you go into a new room and you always enter in stealth. And you can walk around. You can get a very good readout of where everybody's at in this room. I feel like I've shown you this or talked to you about this.
I think you have shown me this. Yes.
Yeah. So you can kind of kick off the level and you can look at where the patterns are going, where things are placed, get a little idea of where you're going to need to attack with it. You have two weapons, a primary, secondary. Those are being upgraded.
It's like a Doom if you could fly through the level beforehand and plan out everything you're going to do.
It's like Doom in that sense. It's almost a little like it's got a little Vampire Survivor in it too. It's this company, Prophecy Games, I feel like looked at a lot of emerging trends in the run based and roguelike genres. And they're like, we're gonna pull a little bit of this, bring it in here. Here's your boomer shooter on crack basically, but it's not fast like Doom. It's not swimmy like Doom. It feels really good. The guns feel great.
I mean, I'm watching a trailer. It does have some speed to it, but yes, it is not like Quake speed. You're not playing Tribes over here, but it does. I mean, it's not slow. It's not sluggish for sure.
But it's also I have not played this with anybody else. It is co-op, and I think it would be a lot more fun that way to kind of aggro stuff and plan out how you would take out a room. I've gotten to the point where it's like more humanoid or like possessed or just like really weird. Like it's sci-fi. It's almost like Event Horizon on what's going on with him. Kind of like Dead Soldiers, but possessed. So I have gotten into some zombie-like characters. So there is a little horror element. Like even some of these photos on Steam, like there's, but a lot of what I've been playing so far is more robots that have different things. So you're upgrading. It's on different, the colored loot rarity scale. There is some persistence things that you can unlock in between runs. But man, this is, I think, PC only right now. Very cool game. No reason it wouldn't hit consoles. And if you've talked a little bit about wanting to play a shooter, this is a good get in, get out game. Kind of scratches that itch for me.
I mean, it is a roguelike, which I don't necessarily inherently have a problem with. But I think when I'm looking for a shooter, I'm looking. If I wanted to play a shooter, I could just go play like Overwatch or something. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that. But I think what I'm looking for is more like a Titanfall 2 kind of thing of just getting through a shooter campaign and having a good 5 to 6 hours with it, and then being able to put it down.
You should check out that newest Sniper Elite.
That's a possibility. Yeah, I've enjoyed Sniper Elite games before.
Yeah, not really first person shooter, but shooting.
Yeah, when you scope in.
But yeah, as I mentioned, that's Prophecy Games. I'm trying to see what else they've done here. Ultra Strikers, Tribes, at least Tribes 3.
Tribes?
Yeah.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah.
Weird that I mentioned Tribes, a game that I've never played and have barely thought about. And
well, they did Tribes 3 Rivals, it looks like.
Yeah. Nice.
And then Ultra Strikers, which that's coming soon. That looks kind of rad. That's like a soccer Yeah, that looks really cool. This game, I think, will set you back $24. Let me see if that's right. It's on sale for 24 on sale for 20. PC only right now. Just came out on the 30th to 1.0, or I'm sorry, the 29th. Very cool game though. The other thing that you and I talked about, which the 1.0 on this one is not out yet. I believe it's like a week or two from now. And that game is called Linked Banner of the Spark. And this one it's definitely got like a hi-fi.
That's linked as in like a Leonard Skinner kind of linked.
Yes, Lynked. It's got a little bit of that hi-fi rush look to it as far as like the character designs go. This is I think I said on our Monday night stream, Chase, this one was kind of like a Hades meets Animal Crossing is how I would explain it. And that's a really weird thing to say. But you start off and you have a very similar layout to what the island was like in the last Animal Crossing. There's a couple, I'll just call them villagers for the sake of the show tonight, that you start off with their little robot friends. And one is like a weaponsmith that you have to go and find and bring him back. And as you bring these people to your town, you unlock their locations to start upgrading your gear and getting better things for your runs. And on your runs, you're picking up scrap from when you kill people. You're opening chests and getting things.
Cutting down trees. You're fishing.
So there.
I'm just literally watching a guy cut trees down and fish.
Back in the town, so your arm is an actual robot. So technically, it's fishing for you because you have a grapple that you use with your arm, which is a really fun.
So it's a bionic commando situation.
Yes. So you are having this is a really funny thing to say. They describe it on their Steam page as a rogue life. And
okay, that's cute.
Yeah.
I think that's fine. Yeah.
I'll allow it. So you have this whole thing where it reminds me a bit of remember Moonlighter? Where you would go into the dungeons and get stuff to bring back and sell at your shop.
Yeah, you're the shopkeeper.
Yeah. This one you're going out and you're doing these runs, and
you like that game.
I like Moonlighter a lot, and Moonlighter 2.
Yeah, masterpiece, I've heard. I'm kidding. I will stop.
Here we go. Claire Obscure, for the record, Claire Obscure Expedition 33 is a masterpiece. Everything else we've talked about so far tonight is fun, but not a masterpiece. I don't know what's getting added in except for some more story beats on 1.0. This is also a co-op game. The runs are really cool, man. You get different weapon types, and if you take certain missions, they're like, hey, you have to use a hammer or claws, or this is a sword, and you can craft those things. You can pick them up. They have core systems in it, so like a core could be poison, it could be digital, it could be ice. Certain enemies are going to be more susceptible to it. And you have quite a bit coming your way. It is that zoomed out isometric view. It's a little bit faster than what a Diablo would be, but I think it's not quite as quick as what Hades, or chaotic as what Hades would be. And each one of these arenas has, like, when you get into it, it's like, okay, cool, you're on level 3 of 5 that you need to get to the end. And at the end of that, in between each one of these segments, you can upgrade an element of your weapon or the overall level of it. And as you are on your runs, you'll just get different versions of, if you start with a hammer, you're going to get all these different hammers that you can pick up and equip, and then break down your other one and save the core from it, or get more scrap to go back and upgrade your town.
So would you say this is closer to something like a Loop Hero, or a what's the little sheep one?
Cult of the Lamb?
Yeah, Cult of the Lamb.
Cult of the Lamb feels a lot more.
Hey, we're going out, we're doing a run, and then we're coming back and we're doing stuff in a town, and that makes us better when we go out on our run, so then we can build up our town.
Yep. Yeah. That is absolutely it. And I just got to, so the other thing that's really fucking cool, when you're walking around, you might see it here in the trailer, you'll see like a rustling on a bush, or a rock might be jittering, or any of those things.
That means a rare Pokemon is there.
There's bots. So there's little mini robots that have different rarities, and they have different looks to them, and you have to grab them. So there's like a little chase that happens. And I think that they are going to have enhancements for tasks back in the city. So like if there is, I don't want to say automation because it's not that type of sicko game, but if there were things that you needed to do, like picking up some of those wood pieces that you saw, or breaking down the rocks, I think they can do it, because they seem like they're going to have types almost. And then you get people that live with you kind of like the villagers coming in, but they actually help and do other things to boost you and give you help or work on shit back in the community you're building. It's really cool. I had no idea about this thing. It's been out in early access since October of last year, and it's got pretty good buzz from what I'm reading online and hitting 1.0 here in just a few weeks. It's cool, man. Like, I think it would be fun to play with people. Again, like it's hard to do these days, but it is neat. It plays really well. I'm not here to say it plays better than a Hades, but it is fun for sure. And I think it's something that would really benefit from like a PlayStation. What do they call their monthly games? PlayStation Plus.
Yeah, like going on PlayStation Plus, like having a really low
Yeah.
barrier to entry at that point.
Yeah, something like that to like let people get in there and hang
Give
out and
that
have a
Rocket
chance.
League style boost.
Yeah, for sure. But it looks cool. I'm really enjoying it. It combines a lot of things I like in a game like this, and it's just been a nice kind of breezy unwind at night after 45 hours of death of Claire Obscure that I went through.
On a 1 to 10 on the crafting scale, how much crafting are you doing?
I don't think I've had to do anything outside of, like, you do get blueprints for, like, hey, they gave me a park.
Just for the record, he's dodging the question, ladies and gentlemen. He's not giving up.
This is like the Senate hearings. I wanted a yes or no. So it's more placing objects than crafting them, like a park bench, like exactly like Animal Crossing.
I reclaim my time. My time,
Bobby. I would say also weapons. So there's when you start one of these runs, there's like a little Winnebago that has a person in there that's basically giving you your weapons for it.
Okay.
And if you can like craft a weapon, if you have, it's more like Monster Hunter. Do you understand that? Like when I'm saying like how I would make more armor and it's more like that than it is. You need to have this, and I mean, you do have to have certain components and you get those from the runs, but it doesn't feel as grindy as other shit that I've played.
Okay.
So that could change though. I mean, I'm pretty early in it still, but it's fun. It's a cool thing. I don't know.
Yeah, you're going to go into their Discord and go, more crafting, more, give me more mats.
I don't know. I think we said this was coming to PlayStation and Xbox. I'm pretty sure.
That sounds like a thing we would have said. I can look it up again just to be sure.
And I don't know if I can talk about it, but I did get into the playtest for the new run-based Deep Rock game. Oh, yeah. And if I can talk about it, I'll talk about it next week, but I don't know if I can talk about it.
Yes, you can wish list linked Banner of the Spark on Xbox or on PlayStation. Nothing about a Switch.
Yeah, man, I don't know. Like, I think that this one, I know you really like Animal Crossing. I know you like Hades and those games. I could see you digging what's going on here. It's approachable, easy. That doesn't ask too much of your time. But I could also see you being like, I don't really care about this whole half of the game. This one's just okay in comparison to other games like Hades, but that grapple's pretty good.
Say it's really tough to play a run-based kind of game like this for me and with my lifestyle and the way I do things on a PlayStation. Like, this is something I really would want on a Switch where I could do a loop something, or if I go see my parents or something who do not have internet. Like, it's nice to have like a little thing I can do.
Yeah,
but like
totally.
If I'm sitting down on the couch with the big PlayStation 5, and you're like, I want to play something a little bit more.
This one, I think it would be fine in handheld. I think it would be really good in handheld, actually.
Yeah, I bet it would be.
Fuzzy Bot.
Well, I guess it's available there on like a Steam Deck or whatever.
It is. I bet you this would be on the Switch too.
Technically have. It could, yeah. Maybe they're waiting for a Switch too before they say we're announcing it for it.
And I've been playing with a controller, so there's that. But those are the games, man. Dead Zone Rogue, Linked, Banner of the Spark. Again, that is like Leonard Skinnerd. And then I beat Claire Obscure Expedition 33.
I almost said it was like Linkin Park, and I was like, that Linkin Park doesn't spell like
Linkin for Lincoln.
Yes.
Yeah.
Slightly different.
You played a new game, though.
I have played a new video game. Even better, Bobby, I have beaten a new video game. I have completed.
Truly an insane timeline we find ourselves on.
It's true. Dawn,
Uh,
the end is near, end is nigh. Yes, I played a new video game. It is called Despelote,
I've heard good
which
things about this one.
yeah, it. I think it's really cool. I think it's a really nice little thing. Like this is a 2, maybe 2.5 hour game.
It's
Uh,
15 bucks looks like,
yeah,
and
pretty
two
cheap.
people made it.
Yes, two people, Julian Cordero and Sebastian Valbuena. I believe Sebastian is more of like the illustrator
Oh, okay.
artist, and then because this is I think Julian did most of the programming and like the story and stuff because this is like a semi autobiographical game based on Julian's life living in Ecuador.
Panic put this one out.
They did, yeah. This is a Panic published game,
Cool.
and it's out on PlayStation and Xbox and PC. And they on their website it says and later for the Switch. So
Oh,
it's
fun.
not out there yet. I think it would play fine on a Switch. It plays fine on pretty much anything. But the whole point of Despelote is you're kind of going through a number of scenes. I, I wouldn't even really say at different points. I mean, it is different points in Julian's life, but it all kind of takes place mostly within like a year,
Is it like Shim?
a year plus.
How you were jumping between like different stages of life and as the shadow?
Mm, I can see where you're talking about Shim, maybe from like an art style perspective, because it is like a very limited color palette stuff. But no, this is more like, hey, I'm playing around in this one scene as like narrative stuff happens around me, and I can poke and prod at it, and then the screen will get blurry, and I'll go into a new
It's
scene.
like, oh, like Virginia.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. I think it's
Okay.
I think it's a lot closer to a Virginia in that
Okay.
way.
Cool.
So this all takes place in early 2001,
Okay.
early to mid 2001. Um,
What a time to be alive.
I definitely remembered seeing like August 2001 and going, oh, you
Oh,
guys don't know what's about
you
to
have no
happen.
idea. You
Like
have no idea.
things are going to change. I guess
Yep.
maybe less in Ecuador than in where we live, but the world is going to get a little bit different
Yeah. Yeah.
in a very short order.
Yep.
But the point that makes this kind of like historical is that it's about the Ecuadorian soccer team
Oh, okay.
qualifying for the World Cup for the first time. They'd never done it before. Ecuador at this time was having some real economic troubles. Their entire financial system collapsed, in fact, and their banks were trying to figure out what to do. People are angry at everything. So the game has that kind of going on in the background, but it's not really about that. It's more about this kid who likes playing soccer video games on his fake Super Nintendo, and you also get to play the fake soccer game. That's how the game starts. Is like it's a top down view, and you're playing like a
Oh,
soccer
that's
game,
fun.
and there are achievements if you get a goal in the game. But then the screen starts to zoom out, and you
Hmm.
realize, oh, I'm playing a soccer video game as I
Games in a
play
game.
this game. Yeah,
Inception.
and then like your parents are talking around you, and then at one point your one of your parents turns off the TV or changes the channel on the TV because they want to watch the actual Ecuador soccer game as they're attempting to qualify for the World Cup.
Is this like a
And
middle school
so
kid?
I would say elementary, yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
even younger
Okay.
than that. And so they're, I think actually he says 8 years old at one point.
Okay.
And then later in the game, he goes, "I wasn't actually 8 years." Like the voice of the developer comes in, and he's like, "I wasn't actually 8 years old, but like I feel like I would have been like 8 at that time for like
Huh.
the memories I have, or like the story I wanted to tell. I probably needed to be 8 for the story, so I just kind of put it in there. And I think that's kind of cool how there's
Yeah.
a little
Yeah.
meta stuff going on. There's
Yeah.
a really cool meta moment that comes much later in the game that I thought was. I don't want to spoil it here, but I thought it was a really cool touch that made me go, "Oh fuck, is the game broken?" And then I went, "Oh, cool! Holy
Oh,
shit,
neat.
this is neat." So that was kind of cool. It's not, I mean, we're not playing frog fractions here, but it was just a cool moment where it was like, "Oh, that changed my perspective on a bunch of stuff that's happening here." But what the game generally does is has these different moments that are mostly set around the different games that Ecuador has to play for the qualifying matches. So they take place over a number of months where they're playing, Uruguay, or they're playing I can't remember the other countries here. I know they play Uruguay, um, and so you aren't. It's less about the soccer games that are happening. And it's more about the story of this little boy. What does he do with his sister? There's a little park outside of his house, so he goes and plays soccer with his friends out there. And he, pisses off an old guy because there are a bunch of bottles on the top of a wall, and you and your
Oh,
asshole friends are like, let's kick the ball and see if we
yeah.
can knock the bottles off. And this guy's like in his window and going, "Hey, don't kick that ball, you fucking kids!" And then you get to kick it and knock one off, and you get an achievement for it. Then he comes out and he chases you off, and so you get little moments like that. But also in this little park, town square, there's a store that sells televisions and has a bunch of TVs in the window, and there's actual footage of the Ecuador soccer
Oh,
games
cool.
playing there. So you can walk up to them and it will show you, oh, here's the score, here's the time in the game. So you can just watch those if you want. But oftentimes the game is giving you different like time limits, kind of. I mean, it's not like you have to do anything here. It's just, your mom will take you to the park and she'll say, "Hey, I'll be back at 6:30." She, at that point, she says, "Don't fucking move. Like, you just stay here.
Yeah.
Don't do anything." And then she leaves, and you automatically move around and do whatever you want. But you can like look down, and your character has a watch, and you get to see like, oh, it's 5:50, so I've still got a little time to fuck around before it's 6:30, and I need to get back before my mom gets here. So you can just like walk around and see some stuff or talk to people. And I'm sure I missed out on a handful of interactions because there's only so much I saw or did. There's no like fail points exactly. There was a time where um, I was in my mom's video store, and I should talk about this. So the gameplay of the game is mostly just walking around or kicking.
Can you also just really quick before you tell more? Can you just tell me like
Yeah.
who's the target like age bracket for this game?
I honestly think I think it's probably more for older people who are nostalgic.
Yeah.
Not necessarily nostalgic for this era or Ecuador or anything like that, but I think it's just people who are nostalgic for childhood in that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
I think that's a lot of what the developer is doing. Is like, I'm telling a
Cool.
very personal story about my home country, about a big significant event that happened for my home country, but also like this was just a really important time in my life, and it really helped me develop as a person. And
That
so
was kind of what I was getting from the.
yeah, like in a similar cases like a Venba, I would say,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
where it's like, this is not my culture, this is not my
Mhm.
country, this is not my language. They speak a lot of Spanish in this game, and there are English subtitles that pop up that are very nice. But
Vimba's a good
like
pull.
it's
That's a good pull.
yeah, I felt a lot of Venba as I played this.
Yeah.
Um, but really the only kind of gameplay you can do is walking around. You can interact. You just hit a button, and your character mostly just waves and says hi, and then people will say stuff back to them. Or sometimes it has contextual stuff where you can like take your sister's hand, or she asks you to come and draw with her, so you can go into like a drawing mini game where she asks you to draw a frog, and you can do
Oh, cool.
that. But mostly what you're doing is kicking, and sometimes you'll
Kicking
find soccer balls.
everything.
Yeah, kind of. Like, you'll find soccer balls. Some are nice. Some are a little flat, so they don't kick as well. But when you're in your mom's video store, you can pick up videotapes and then drop them and start kicking them around. So your
Oh
mom
God.
says, "Get the fuck out of my store!"
Yeah.
Like, take your sister, go play hide and seek or whatever. And then your sister goes and plays hide and seek. And what happened was, my mom's like, "Hey, come back at this time. Like, be back at the house at this point." And I found my sister twice because she was really bad at hiding, and then she got really good at hiding on the third one. And I'm like, I don't know where this girl is.
Oh
And I
shit.
looked around the park a bunch, and I looked down at my watch, and I was like, oh, I've still got plenty of time to find her. And then like, the world starts to get dark, and I look down at my watch, and like, oh fuck, I am so late. What happened? What happened? Where'd she
Oh
go?
no.
And I was like, is this like what's going to happen here? And I start to walk home, and I hear my mom calling, and it starts to rain, and I'm like, oh, I am so boned. And I get there, and then she's like, "Where were you? You should have been here." And then your sister just kind of like walks behind you. It's like, "Oh, whoa, okay. Well, I guess that's all right. This isn't a story about losing my sister, I
Oh
suppose."
my god.
So to that point, I just want to say there's no really fail states
Fail.
in the game.
Yeah.
You can fail at a thing, and it just kind of keeps going forward, but it's not going to ask you to redo anything.
Yeah.
I think it's good. I think it's made with heart. It's made with real personality and um, just a real personal story to this developer. I think it has a really striking art style where the characters that you're interacting with are in this kind of white and black cartoony style, and the rest of the world is in this. What would you even call this, Bobby? You're the designer here.
It reminds me of like Saul Bass, like the old Vertigo posters and stuff.
Yeah, it's got like a graininess to it, but it's all kind of two tone and in different colors. And as
It,
the game
it's
progresses
like
in different
Tom
places,
goes
they
to the
change the
mayor.
colors. Yes, absolutely. That's a good pull. That's a
Yeah.
great pull. Um, in both like the characters and the
Yes.
backgrounds,
Yeah.
for sure. And it's just makes for a really striking.
Would have been good for the time period too. Time goes.
I just had a great time with it, and
It
again,
looks
like it's
really
it's
really
really
good.
short. It's 2.5 hours. And I don't want to say anything that happens for this part, but the end of the game, like the thing right before the credits, is going on my moment of the year nominee list. Like it was a really cool thing. I was like, oh, holy shit, that's so cool, and that's a different thing than the thing I thought was cool that
Oh,
was the
nice.
meta thing. It's a separate thing.
It,
That moment could also go on a best of moments of the year. It's I had a great time with it. I think people should really try this out. If you liked a game like Venba and it got you in the feels or whatever, this is a game that will do a similar thing, a little less like trying to. I think it's just telling more of a personal story and less of like I'm gonna make you cry.
mm-hmm.
But it does tell a very nice story, and I really enjoyed it quite a bit.
Is this one that you think I should play this year?
I again, it won't take a whole lot of time for you, so I would say
Mm,
sure. Like it's
okay.
a cheap game that you
Yeah.
can play in an afternoon in a single setting. I
Mm-hmm.
almost played it in a single setting and then got a massive headache that had nothing to do with the game,
Damn.
so I had to play it in two sessions. But I it's one that I don't think you're necessarily going to love it or anything. I don't think it's going to be a top 10 game for you. It might be for me. Um, but I
Sounds like
also
it's a
think that the
masterpiece.
I think that the opportunity cost is so low that I would
Yeah.
say, yeah, you should probably
Yeah.
give
Check
it
it
a
out.
chance.
Do you think this is like a touchy feely or game with heart type thing?
From what we've put in that category in the past, probably,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Right on.
But I just
Uh,
think it's like
yeah.
generally really well done.
I'm looking at it right here. It looks really fucking cool. Again, that'll set you back 15 bones. Came out May 1st. Check it out. Everywhere but the Switch right now.
That's right.
Chase, we talked about it earlier, but last week there was just some more corporate fuckery taking over,
Oh,
and
everything's going great. Don't worry about it. The
thing,
future. Oh, what was the post? The future of Giant Bomb. We're still working on the future of Giant Bomb. Stay tuned or
we
whatever.
hear
It's
you or something like we know this is.
yeah. Something that was definitely not written by anybody who
God.
worked at Giant Bomb.
So we had two big things happen. We had something with Polygon. We had something with Giant Bomb. Maybe let's start with Polygon, Chase, and talk about that
Sure.
first. Both are kind of a similar situation where their parent companies have stepped. Well, I think in this case for Polygon, there was a whole changing of parent company from Vox to another company. Correct?
Yes, it was sold specifically. I forgot the name of the company, but it's one that has got some like Middle East ties and has been a very bad place for games journalists who've been there in the past because they have some other games journalism outlets that have apparently really bad working conditions, really bad pay, uh, not a great time. And so, yes, they've laid off basically the entire staff. I think they kept a couple of people,
So
but
Polygon's not
it's
technically not dead, but
It's not
basically
dead.
dead.
It will live, but it will live in a shambling corpse of content farming rather
Yeah.
than the interesting, generally good journalism they were doing over their run.
I really enjoyed Polygon. I think aesthetically it was a very pleasing website to go to. I felt they were pretty good about letting different voices talk about different topics, and I think they did a nice job of playing pretty fair. If I do really feel like when a game would come out, like that IGN 7's coming, they're going to be doing some bullshit like that. But I think Polygon, for the most part, took a pretty objective, stance on a lot of things.
And they were, they certainly leaned left. I
Yeah,
would say,
yeah,
but they didn't get the hate or the low hanging fruit that something like a Kotaku would often get.
yeah,
They wouldn't get the ire of the internet as much in that sense.
yeah.
But it became my go-to place for news. I used to be a joystick guy.
Hmm.
I enjoyed joystick quite a bit because I liked their layout. I liked how more news focused they were, and I felt like Kotaku had some stuff that was kind of interesting, but I felt like there was a lot of stories on Kotaku that were less about games. I think they kind of
Hmm.
led that. Oh, we're talking about probably not Marvel movies at that point, but close to that area, close to that time, where it's like, oh, we're going to talk about other nerd culture stuff. And
Yeah.
it's like that's fine, but like I'm here for game news. And one of the things that Polygon did, because they also, certainly touched into those waters eventually as well, but they had a strict like new video game news tab, and you could go into that tab, and that's what I had bookmarked. And at some points, those tags would also allow in some of the other stuff, but
Yeah.
generally, I felt like this was a good feed of getting the kind of stuff that I was looking for from a news
Absolutely.
perspective.
Agree.
And they just became one of my like good go-to places where I thought good journalism was happening, and I really liked it. So now I'm a little bit back to square one of like where the hell do I go? Do I go
I,
to a Kotaku? I guess so, but like
I know, man.
I don't
There's
know.
there's a few I've seen pop up on Blue Sky that I've been meaning to like put more credit towards, but I also like I'm a bit torn here, man, because the last 2 decades I've just been uh, death by a thousand cuts on subscriptions between
Sure.
Patreons, between live streaming shit, shipping stuff, music, like you name it. Everything is so a la carte and so niche when it comes. Like there's so many things I
Yep.
can now support, and it seems very innocent because it's like, yeah, it's $5. Well, you've done that 5 times now, and so
Yeah.
I think like while there are outlets, whether it be Patreon, Substack, other places that you can do this, like you can support folks that you like their voice from. I I just don't know like what's going to happen because this is unfortunately one in a long series of hits that games media has taken, and especially
Yeah.
journalism around gaming. And it's crazy to see, like, not only in this conversation you and I are having, we're going to talk about Polygon, who's been a website and more print, you know Giant Bomb,
Hmm.
very similar here. Like we're going to be talking about another podcast where podcasts are booming, but there's been some struggles going on with some of these, and like these bastions that we go to get updates that we like. You probably had somebody on Polygon that you really appreciated them as a contributor, and if they had a story, you would probably be excited to read it. Same with the
I,
podcast.
so actually, that's interesting because that's not how I felt.
Really
Yeah. Which
crazy.
so here's my manifesto out here. I'll try to keep it relatively short. Um, One Up and Giant Bomb ruined video game journalism, and I love both of those things. Those are maybe
Yeah,
two of my favorite like
sure.
gaming outlets, but those One Up with all their podcast stuff um, became more personality driven,
Hmm.
and you got to know people, and you started looking for bylines, or you started just listening to them on the podcast and going, oh, that's Shane, oh, that's um, my guy Nick Sutner. Like
Sure.
those are the people I follow. I like these people. I want to listen to more of their stuff. Your Mark McDonald's, your all those kind of people. And then Giant Bomb, or what Gersman was doing at GameSpot, and those guys that then became Giant Bomb. That was also extremely personality driven. When you're
Yep.
going to Giant Bomb, you're there for those four guys.
Yeah.
You're there for the Vinny, Brad, Ryan, and
Jeff.
Jeff. Thank you.
Yeah.
That one, he's kind of important.
Yeah.
And then as they grew, you're there for Alex, you're there for Patrick, you're there for Austin. I was not there for Dan, but some people were there for Dan.
A lot of people
Um,
for Dan.
a lot of people were there for Dan. I understand. I know I'm in the minority. I was not there for Dan. Um, but you had a group that they're not. One Up was still doing journalism. They were
Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
still like, we were news people, but we're also doing these podcasts, and it was a different time back then. Giant Bomb was like, you know what? We're not really doing the news. They're doing the podcast that we're doing, or rather, we're doing the podcast they were doing. Where it's like,
Yeah.
we are a couple people, we're commenting on other people's news stories, but you're here for us, you're here for our opinions, and you just want to see us play games and do stuff and talk about shit. We've become pseudo celebrities in that way, and that's fine. That's really fun. That's interesting. Obviously, it had a lot of appeal for you and me and a lot of other people,
Yep.
but those people weren't doing journalism. And when they did have people who did journalism, like Patrick Klepek, who was like a news guy, they kind of, and again, like, don't take this the wrong way. I love Patrick Klepek. I like what they're doing at Remap right now. But they ruined Patrick Klepek. He is not a news guy anymore. He's a personality guy, and
Yeah.
as many news stories as he writes, that's great. But you're a personality. You become a celebrity in that way. And Jeff Grubb is the same thing. Like, Jeff Grubb was a news guy, and then he became a Giant Bomb guy, and he's less of a news guy now. And maybe he'll become more of a news guy. But it's so personality driven.
Mm-hmm.
And the things that I liked about Polygon is I didn't know any of those people.
Okay.
That's not exactly true. Like, I knew Chris Plant, who was one of the founders there. I knew Arthur Geese when he was there, Justin McElroy when they were starting it. They certainly had personalities there, but more often it felt like this was a place where I could get news
Mm-hmm.
and like real news and journalism done by real newsy journalists. And those are not sexy people. Those are not sexy. So when you lose something like Polygon, those people don't necessarily have a Patreon that they can start, or
Oh yeah.
a Twitch
Absolutely.
channel they can be a part of. Like, when Dan Reichert loses his job at Giant Bomb, and he already has, he can go, cool, I'll just do my own Twitch channel and it'll be fine, because people like me. When Jeff loses or leaves his job at Giant Bomb, he can go, I'm starting a Patreon, I'm starting a Twitch channel. When the next Lander guys leave, they can go, we have an audience, we can take that audience. When random Polygon journalist who's really good at their job loses their job, where the fuck are they supposed to go? There are no jobs at
No,
these other
I
places,
mean
so they
a
just kind of go,
Substack,
well, I guess I'll
a
fuck off.
Patreon, like
Yeah, possibly. Like, Chris Plant
it.
started a Substack, but I know Chris Plant. I don't know all the other
Well,
real
and the other
journalism
thing
people.
too is like I have to imagine they were making a pretty good living doing this on Polygon. I have to imagine.
Certainly better than they were doing at potentially doing at other places. But
Well,
I don't know if
agreed.
they were all doing well. But
Oh no, no.
yes,
Well, I'm
Polygon cared about the
what I'm
content.
getting at is I think that's going to be a pretty big lifestyle adjustment for most people to go to a Substack
Totally,
only.
totally.
Like I don't even know if I have no idea about some of these individuals. To your point, they're not a Jeff Gersman, and I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. And Jeff Gersman is, and I don't mean this to be mean either, but he's been for a bit kind of like aging / phasing out from, like, there's a lot of people who are into video games today that have no fucking clue who that guy is.
Sure.
And
And there are people who used to love him, like you and me, who
yeah,
don't watch his stuff anymore.
I don't.
And it's not that I don't like Jeff. I really
Correct.
like Jeff.
Yes.
But he's he's doing a different thing, and it's less interesting to me, and it's not my cup of tea, so I'm not being a part of it. And to that point, he's not doing news. He hasn't done news for a very long time. That's not his bag. He doesn't need to do it. He kind of just is able to
He'll
live
like
out there and be
comment
an
on
old
it a bit
guard
here and there, but not to the degree he once did.
right, but he's commenting on other people's news stories.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
not going up and calling a developer and going, "Why'd you do that? Why'd you make that choice? What are you doing here? Why?
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
happening there?" There's no in that sense. There's not that journalism happening, and so we're losing something by having talented reporters and journalists out there who no longer have jobs because when you have less of those and the industry is skewing more personality based, and even when those jobs are having trouble, as we'll talk about Giant Bomb, um, you're ceding more ground to uh, YouTuber, Twitch streamer influencers who are potentially very talented at their jobs, but they are also personalities. They are not journalists, and they are more or less yes men for PR companies or the PR arms and marketing arms of these game developers. But then also you're just losing it to the PR of the game developers themselves when they
Well,
can put up their own trailers, when they own all the information flow and the stuff that we're getting as gamers and the way we're able to interact with those people and ask questions and learn about those things, we're getting a very filtered lens now, and it gets more filtered every time
yep.
we lose one of these outlets.
I've followed Nextlander since they started, and there's been some really cool, like very candid conversations just about that industry, that now that they are no longer beholden to it. And there was an episode, I think I might have clipped this one and sent you some stuff from it, but where they were flat out talking about being in their roles at GameSpot and the Giant Bomb and being kind of like top echelon of getting to go to these events, like whether they be the PAX things, whether they would be E3s at the time. They were always like kind of red carpet in a lot of ways. Like there were big personalities that people really wanted to see there. They start talking about, like, to what you just said about them killing journalism coming out as a personality. They talk about what happened when streamers started to like take their seats, and like there's been two phases of death really to this. And I think some of the stuff we're seeing right now is like a lot of the personality profile podcast and or like their websites are done for sure. It's like link trees and stuff to that degree that just takes you to these social places where you can find the voices. But it's almost like these streamers are kind of like, well, let's do a podcast now too. Like we'll link up and do this shit as like a bonus.
And if you're a
thing.
video game PR or marketing outlet,
yeah,
like yes, you used to have to, you had to deal with the Giant Bombs of the world. You had to like give them credits because they used to be journalists, or they had that. So
reviews.
they were becoming more popular than the strictly journalistic outlets, so you have to give them their ground. But then when you realize, oh, the personality driven stuff is so popular that we don't even need these like former game journalist people to do it. We can just get like actual celebrity or actual influencer people who have targeted that market even more, and we can say fuck you to the Brad Shoemakers and the Vinny Caravellas of the world. And then they go out and say, well, there's not really a reason for us to go to E3 or to PAX or these things. We can just, stay at home and comment on these things. And then, more journalism is getting lost in that sense. Yeah.
We got a little bit of time left. Like, let's talk. I mean, if you are anybody who's listened to us for a while, we've completely just ripped off Giant Bomb. And guess what?
Absolutely. We used
a lot of
we like this whole format is
no. I mean,
like
look,
the what you've been playing to news segment to like that's
absolutely, dude.
It's all taken out of that book.
Our old co-host Johnny, I remember when he approached me at work and wanted to start this thing up. I was just like, okay, cool. Like, I really wasn't into podcasts like he was, and he was a big Giant Bomb guy, or is a Giant Bomb guy. I don't really know. He just said, well, yeah, we'll just do the Giant Bomb thing. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I just kind of thought that was like what everybody was doing to talk about games.
Yeah.
And
where they were like, everybody had a podcast like that.
Everybody did, dude.
Kept doing
ours.
ours.
And it was interesting, like this past week
Other
with all
people
the
got
news.
smart and said we should stop doing this, and you and I said,
let's
keep going.
We'll keep going now. 422 episodes later.
So many episodes.
It's crazy, but I think I think a lot of people are here chasing games to this degree because of what Giant Bomb did. And I think it's also fair for me to say, like, I've been pretty critical of Giant Bomb post that guard that we're talking about. Like,
Yeah,
basically, I hung around a little bit after the Next Lander guys. I did simultaneously. When Jeff left, I was like, no, there's literally nothing here. I mean that in the nicest way possible. Like, this just isn't the show I wanted to tune into. And so the last few years, probably 2 or 3 years now, I think it's been, I have not really kept up with them. But they are, like, when I think about games media, I think about Giant Bomb. Like, that's who I think about.
sure.
And I listen to Nextlander multiple times a week now. Like, I've been on their Patreon for a while. I really like those guys. Vinny is my spirit animal in a lot of ways, and I appreciate that they found a place to keep having that, because that, like what you mentioned just a minute ago, like there was a period, dude, like I downloaded Kind of Funny, Min Max, a bunch of other shows. Like, I gotta fill this void, and like
Yeah,
they were all good, but it just didn't feel like the personalities I wanted to hear about. Like, I knew when a game was coming out, I'd be like, I can't wait to hear what Jeff says about this. Like, did Jeff like that game? Holy
yeah.
shit. Okay, Gersman likes it. Cool. And like,
And
I know his bar. Like,
right, exactly. That's the part that's more important. Is not just, oh, I like everything that Jeff likes. It doesn't have to be your personality, but when you
right.
get to know these people, and this was one of the things that I remember them talking up in the one up days, is, when you get to know us, you know what we like and what we don't like, so you kind of know who to listen to, or
Mm-hmm.
who vibes with you in some things, or who, if they say this game's a 7 but it has some really cool stuff, like, oh, they mean it's actually like the good shit, but it's also
Mm-hmm.
janky as fuck, so we're giving it a 7. Whereas if somebody else said that, you go like, oh, that game is kind of just fine, I guess. um and you start to like learn your sensibilities within that structure, and that's like the really interesting thing that you'd get from that more personality based stuff, that was still generally like around reviews though, and less about news.
Yeah.
um
But yeah, I mean, I think that, like, for us, it's weird. Like, we've gone through some changes here. It's obvious. And those, it's hard. Like, there's just some things, like some of our stuff is fundamentally different forever because of like where things are at with us being just the two of us now. Like, we used to have three people. It was easy to do certain segments. Um, some of the things that we used to do, like, you've
we
got
don't
new
have
shit that
tiebreakers anymore.
we don't
You
have
and I have to agree to
tiebreakers.
disagree.
Like, Friday nights were, I did a Friday night stream because it was a chance to hang out with Johnny. Like, I do them occasionally now, not as much as I once did, because like I don't need to be a streamer by myself. I want to hang out with people and play games, and if we're doing that, might as well put it on the internet. But yeah, I think our show, like, we're here because of Giant Bomb. Like, we used to tease each other all the time. Like, you had Giant Bomb West and you had Giant Bomb East, and then we were going to be Giant Bomb Midwest. Like,
Yeah.
we were gonna be that Midwest correspondence. But I I think what sucks here is how the ship, like, went out for Giant Bomb. And right now, I think we should probably preface for anybody who doesn't know what's happening. Chase, could you just like quickly state what happened last week to them?
Yes, so Giant Bomb a while ago got purchased by Fandom,
And they've gone
which
through a few different hands in their
correct,
history.
correct. So Fandom, if you don't know I mean, you've probably interacted with Fandom accidentally,
Yeah.
um, but they own a bunch of wikis, specifically video game stuff, but they also have a bunch of other wikis as well. And so if you ever needed to go, find something on, I think Bulbapedia is actually a separate thing, but there's like the
Yes.
Mario wiki is like a fandom thing, and there's a bunch of wikis that are under fandom that have a similar template to it, have a similar format, have a bunch of ads, ads that you can basically never get away from.
Yes.
And they're not the best. People kind of grumble about them, but they're big, and they've purchased a number of things. One of those things ended up being Giant Bomb.
Hmm.
And so what happened, from what I've gathered, is that they I think they were looking to sell something as well. I don't, like, sell to like a bigger company. No, sorry, that's not true. I'm mixing up Conan O'Brien stuff, and because I'm also dealing with this
There
on another
was they
podcast
wanted
that
to
I'm
do
working
like
on.
PG-13 advertising.
Yes, so that was the problem, is that the advertisers that they had um complained a little bit that some of their ads were showing up next to more PG-13 content,
Yeah.
more adult kind of content. Um, people saying shit and fuck on Giant Bomb,
Yeah.
and it's harder to sell ads next to those things. So I don't think it was just Giant Bomb. I think it was a number of things, but they ended up putting out a company wide letter memo thing that said, hey, we're going to try to keep things PG-13 from now on. Here's a list of things that you can and can't do,
Mm-hmm.
should and should not say. And the Giant Bomb guys being the Giant Bomb guys, and at this point the Giant Bomb guys are Jan Ochoa, Jeff Bacalar, Dan Reichert, Jeff Grubb, Mike Minotti would be a
Mm-hmm.
contributor to that stuff. Lucy James and Timur Hussein, also contributors. So on the they took a break from streaming stuff
Mm-hmm.
for a while. That came from fandom as well. It's like, we're going to take a break from a lot of this stuff, which to Giant Bomb, like, streaming was kind of the
Their
whole
thing.
point. Like, that was
Yeah.
that was the thing. So that was a little weird. And then when they came back, the first thing they did was Giant Bombcast, and Dan reads off the entire memo. And they make fun of it, and they poke fun of it where they can. Like, hey, you can drink, you can drink on these streams, you can drink alcohol, but don't glorify it. So he just immediately opens a can and starts drinking. He's like, I'm not glorifying it, I'm liking drinking, but I'm not glorifying it. Just pushing the envelope, and pissing fandom off. And it did piss fandom off, because the podcast went off, like, went off the internet, was gone.
Yeah.
People were able to archive it and save it, so you can go back and watch it through, like, archive.org, or I'm sure there's some YouTube people who put it up as well.
Fucking
Um,
crazy.
and so obviously that didn't go very well. And I imagine behind the scenes, some people had some harsh words for through both sides. And officially, Dan and Jeff Grubb no longer work at Giant Bomb anymore.
Dan
It doesn't say if
Reichert
they
and
quit.
Jeff
It doesn't
Grubb.
say if they got fired. Yeah, those two are gone. Mike
Jan.
Minotti, who is just a contributor, has said he's no longer going to contribute, because he was, mostly tied there with Jeff Grubb. They both were together from the Bitmob days. I was a Bitmob guy at that time, so, like, I watched those guys kind of grow up and become the things that they were. Jan, I believe, is still there.
Backlar.
Bacalar is definitely still there, and I think Lucy and Timur are still contributing in some way. They work at GameSpot,
Yeah.
but they contribute to Giant Bomb stuff. So I think
I wonder if there's like a contract thing for Jan and Jeff.
it's possible. I mean, it's also, harder for some people to, leave their jobs at that time. Like, people have families, people have contracts. Um, Dan and Jeff, I know, have their own kind of Patreons and some stuff
Yeah.
like that. So
Dan has the Fire Escape podcast too.
yeah, Dan has some other things that he can be a part of that I'm sure he's getting some money for. And Dan, he's a cat; he always lands
Yeah.
on his feet.
Yeah. He'll be
And
fine.
Jeff has a Patreon. He does a game mess thing that is his, like, own separate thing that he does with Mike Minotti. Um, he was doing stuff long before Giant Bomb. He'll do stuff long after Giant Bomb. He's probably going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, it just, at this point, a lot of people are thinking Giant Bomb is effectively dead. Uh,
They're not putting anything out right now, right? They're
I have not seen anything put out. I know, like, over the weekend, like, this happened, like, later last week, and then I didn't see anything from over the weekend, and I haven't really been checking this week. But I mean, I haven't heard anybody talk about stuff or blow up stuff. Like, the last thing we heard, the last thing that's on the Giant Bomb Instagram, did I put it away? Damn it. It's the corporate thing I had said before. That's definitely didn't come from Giant Bomb. Here, I got it. I can read it. Um, we understand your frustration and appreciate your patience. We are actively exploring creative directions for the future of Giant Bomb and look forward to sharing more with you soon. That's not something that was written by Jan. Can
No.
basically guarantee that, or Jeff or anybody who's
Yeah.
still at Giant Bomb. I can't imagine they would have written that stuff. That's probably something that comes from a corporate PR team at Fandom, and we'll see what the fuck that means. But at this point, we've gone through so many of the like none of the original people who worked at Giant Bomb
Yeah.
are there anymore. Pretty much nobody from the second generation of Giant Bomb is there anymore, and you're just kind of left with, this ship of Theseus at this point of like what is Giant Bomb at this point if the personality
I
driven
mean,
site doesn't have the personalities that you care about anymore.
it's not the same, but for me, Nextlander is my Giant Bomb still. Like
Totally.
I get what I need to feel like I'm with those dudes talking about shit I care about still. So like they've done it. Like they've added in a really cool thing with the Watchcast over there. They have a Patreon as well. Jeff has a Patreon. Jeff Grubb has a Patreon, as he called out. I saw Daniel Dwyer was trying to cook something up. So we'll see, man. Like
And we've gone through this before. Like there was the One Apocalypse, which is when One Up died, and all the different people from One Up started going to lots of different things. One Up and EGM, lots of different podcasts started there. Rebel FM and 8-4 and stuff like that. All kind of like started building out of the remains of that. You saw a lot of people that did a lot of cool things. Some of them like BitMob was another thing that we mentioned that started some stuff that got new people in that went over to other things. It's interesting to see how things fragment, but it is also sad when these giants, no pun intended, but when they fall, because they were things that meant a lot to a lot of us. And
totally.
And not having them there is weird. It feels wrong, but we have to find other stuff. You said you have Nextlander. I don't think I care about Remap as much, but I do probably engage with Remap more than I engage with most of the other ones. That's what came out of Waypoint, which is what came out of Austin at Giant Bomb and things like that. So lots of fragmentation stuff there. And so there's still a lot of people doing a lot of cool stuff out there. As Bobby was saying, I'd encourage you to go find creators and support them when you can, but also understand that is inherently difficult when the people that you're able to find are probably more of the personalities and less of the news people. And a lot of that real news is just kind of going away. And I'm sure you have people who are going to leave this kind of career in this industry altogether to go do stuff, or honestly even worse, just go into PR for gaming companies and become part of the problem instead of part of the solution, which many people have done because those are the ones with the money.
Again, like I'm not here to like be a shill for them, but if you are somebody who listens to us and you listen to Giant Bomb, thank you first of all, but secondly, Nextlander is probably the closest thing that you're going to get to what that was. And if you do subscribe to their Patreon, they do a monthly Never Been a Better podcast that they rotate the original Giant Bomb Beastcast folks out. So like you'll have Austin come on, you'll have Abby, you'll have Jeff there, and it's Vinny and Alex Jeff just like Jeff Baclar, just hanging out talking. So like you can get
Jeffs.
A lot of Jeffs there.
Too many Jeffs at Giant Bomb. It's hard to tell which one.
But if you find us, like somehow you found us in the midst of like looking for a new home, we're the Casual Hour. We've been doing this for a very long time. Chase and I have.
Shit ain't doing journalism. Actually, we did journalism once. We
did a little bit of it.
We talked to Ground Shatter. We talked to a game developer and asked them questions. That's journalism, baby.
We've done it. We've been doing this since 2016, and Chase and I both have full-time gigs and lives outside of this. This is a friendship thing for us. But we care a lot about it, and we are live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday every week. Well, lately Monday and Wednesday, but working on getting Fridays better. My work assignment should be freeing up soon, and I'll have my Fridays off again. We play video games.
Can you imagine like making a Despelote game about us starting the Casual Hour in 2016, and you just go through the same dates, and then you'd have the same thing of like, oh, these guys are gonna get so fucked by their country here in a little bit.
Yeah. Fuck, man.
They don't even know.
They don't even know. But yeah, we play games on Mondays and Mondays and Fridays, and Wednesdays we record this podcast that you're either listening to or watching. The podcast audio only goes up on Fridays. This Monday that we just wrapped up, Chase and I completed our Dead in the Water series, which was my first playthrough of Oberdin, and we maybe blurred the lines a little bit at the end there to force some names in, but
we got to cross the finish line. That's what matters.
That is a hell of a thing. We have not really talked about it on the show, but we have go watch it. It's fun. We have a good banter on what's going on with it.
Maybe next week we do like a breakdown of
Oberdin. Yeah, that's a good call. So you can check that out. And then this Friday, I might fire up that linked game, but also I forgot that Journey to the Savage Planet or Return to the Savage Planet comes out on Friday. So maybe I'll show that off too. We'll see. That's the plan right now, though. And Chase, you mentioned that you've been busy working on stuff. Let me get you pulled up here in the chat. What do you got happening?
I have been. Yeah, I've got two things. One is my YouTube channel, Chasing Gay Plays. We're currently me and a guest, special guest, Bobby P.
Who?
Yeah, he's here helping me out as we split a little fiction.
Having a great time with that.
Haze Light's newest game, Split Fiction. Yeah, that's been.
Maybe we talk about that one too.
We should. We need to finish it first, but once we do, I think that would absolutely be a good thing to talk about here. But we've been having a great time with that. We call that series Stranger Than Split Fiction, and you should join us. So go to the link tree, go find it, and watch us. It's fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Also, I've got another podcast I do. I mentioned it earlier. I'm doing with Pierce Porchane. It's called Pilot Program. Pierce and I watch the first episodes of every television show ever made.
Ambitious.
We were going to do Conan O'Brien last week, Late Night with Conan O'Brien, and Pierce got busy, so we were delaying for a little while until he's back and ready. But really looking forward to doing that. That'll be fun. It's interesting how some of that research got mixed in with the Giant Bomb stuff.
Yeah.
Because it turns out corporate fuckery
There's
happens
a lot of it.
all the time.
There's a lot of it. Yep.
And it's a very similar story all around. But yes, I'm very much looking forward to talking about that show and the late night wars and the way Conan became a podcaster. I think that's a very interesting story to tell, and we're going to try to tell it. So come join us when we do that. That'll hopefully be in the next handful of weeks. Shows.acast.com/pilot program, and then Pierce and I also have planned out what the next 3 or 4 episodes are going to be. So I'm really excited about some of the shows that we're going to be talking about. We haven't announced those yet, but it's cool to be like, oh, we're going to do that. That's going to be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to it. So,
fuck yeah.
Lots of cool things coming at Pilot Program. Lots of cool things coming for the Casual Hour. So keep your dials tuned here.
Yeah, we are for this being a hobby. It's pretty damn consistent, and we're inspired by Giant Bomb. We're both older dudes that have been doing this for a long time. We like games a whole lot. We'd like for you to hang out and play some with us. We'll tell you more about them every week. So tune in where you can. Chase, thank you, and we will be back Friday.